All right, let's kick things off. I want to welcome everybody here today. I'm Andy Thomas, the Chief Marketing Officer at Kforce, and I could not be more excited for us to be streaming live today on LinkedIn as we bring you now another edition of our Knowledge Force webinars. Now, for those of you not familiar with Kforce, we are a solutions firm that help our clients address their greatest challenges and opportunities through managed outcomes, project teams, while providing a knowledge force of over 30,000 highly skilled professionals each year. Now, I can tell you, I can't think of a more exciting time for our firm or the business. And on that note, our topic today is a very relevant one. It's how to embrace change and find career success during evolving times. And these certainly are evolving times. They're rapidly changing and in unexpected ways, and it can be very challenging to navigate your career path and those all critical decisions. Of course, at Kforce, we truly believe one of the keys to that is having a great relationship with your recruiter. So today, we got a great one to join us. Not only a great recruiter, but also a great leader. We are so lucky to have Tish Murray. Yes, Letitia prefers Tish. And we chose Tish to be here with us today, really to help coach you through how you can better utilize these transforming times and really turn them into success. Now, Tish, welcome.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
You sound great. It's great to see you again. And, that said, you started as a recruiter in 1997, and your current function is our VP of Delivery for our IT financial vertical. Now, you have been incredibly influential in helping Kforce pivot to a remote environment, which were really challenging times for everybody, and also helping us transform our business as well. So I want to thank you for being such a leader and being a light through that, so to speak, because these times can be challenging. With that said, Tish, you've been in the business now since 1997, as I said, but that was after getting your degree. But, your degree wasn't in recruiting, was it?
No, it was not. My degree is actually in political science. So I had great aspirations to become a lawyer. I took the LSAT. I was ready to go. So that's where I thought I was headed.
Well, we're so glad you didn't go down that path. Now, I want to share something with people that you shared with me the other day, and I think it's something that can be inspiring for others. Though you are the consummate expert. This is why we asked you to do this, and clearly you've had countless conversations, strategic ones and tactical, with clients, with consultants. But this type of forum and a public speaking engagement, you really haven't had much exposure to that, correct?
Correct.
So you had a decision to make when we asked you to do this, and you want to just walk people through what that decision was and how you came about saying yes?
Yeah, sure. So I think it was back in 2019, one of my really good friends, who's also a mentor, she reached out to me and she said, I got a great book. I want you to read it. And it was a book written by Shonda Rhimes, and it's called The Year Yes. So for those of you who may not know who Shonda Rhimes is, she's a very accomplished writer and executive producer. She's created a lot of my favorite shows, Grey's Anatomy. I read it. I think I read it in 2 days. And basically the book was about powerhouse of a woman who's made all these amazing shows. She was very reluctant to get on talk shows, to engage in speaking engagements. She wouldn't do it. So she decided it was going to be the year yes. So any engagement she was invited to, she told herself she was going to do it. So I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to do that. So 2020 came and gone. And I decided, okay, 2021 is going to be my year, yes. And I want to be honest, even when I was approached, I still constant negotiator. I tried to negotiate with myself. Well, you said 2021. You didn't say it had to be early 2021. But anyway, I went ahead and I accepted it. I'm glad I did. A lot of people did reach out to me and say, "Can't wait to see you. I'm happy for you." So I'm happy that I did say yes.
Well, I'm thrilled to hear that 2021 is your year to say yes, and so we can count today as your Sean the moment. And thank you for sharing it with us. I also, one of the things you told me behind the scenes here was the other part of that decision was this is an opportunity to help people,
Yeah.
which this isn't the first time you've helped people in very significant ways. With that, we have a firm-sponsored charity, Best Buddies, that's very close to my heart, but I know for so many reasons it is to yours as well. You want to just share a little bit about that passion?
Yeah, sure. So I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with Best Buddies, but it's an organization that support individuals with intellectual and mental disabilities. So my son, Alex, my oldest son, he has a learning disability. So we were introduced to Best Buddies when we relocated. I cannot believe it. It's 3 years this month. So when we got here, one of Alice's teachers, she was like, I think this would be a great program for him. And it has truly turned out to be a blessing for him and for us as a family. He's more confident. He's strong minded. I don't know if I appreciate that sometimes as a mother, but he's doing great. He's on the track team. So it's such a great organization. And I'm looking forward to him being able to do more. They help with workshops and help them with interviews. So I'm excited for him.
Yeah, well, thrilled to hear that. And once again, we appreciate you sharing, and I encourage everybody to learn more about Best Buddies. It's a remarkable organization and cause. That being said, you've got a lot to share to help the people on this call.
Yes.
So, before we turn it over to you, I just want a little bit of housekeeping. If you look on the right-hand side of your screen, there is a Q&A panel. Any questions that you have, please feel free to put those in. We will try to get to all of them. That being said, sometimes we come up a little shy of that depending on the volume. And also after this, we will also be sending out a recording of the session. So Tish, I'm going to jump in from time to time, but I'm turning it over to you to share your wisdom with us.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
Change is guaranteed and none of us can avoid it, but we can create strategies to help us deal with it. Today, we're going to discuss dealing with shifting priorities, establishing your negotiables and non-negotiables, and using technology to grow relationships and enhance your career. I want all of you to take a few seconds and think back to a year or so ago. The impact of COVID-19 can't be ignored. I think we can all agree that our lives and goals have changed. In a short amount of time, we have gone through a rapid shift and changes across every industry. Let's chat about some of the changes we are observing and how we can look at these changes as opportunities. Remote work isn't new, but the percentage of employers that are offering 100% remote work to their employees has increased. According to Statista, before the pandemic, 17% of employees work from home 5 days a week. And as you can see, that number has now increased to 44%. That's huge. Kforce conducted a survey in 2020 and found that 20% of job seekers are opportunity to improve their work-life balance, which is an increase from 13% in 2019. Many feel that working from home offers a better opportunity to create that necessary flexibility. During that same survey, Kforce also found that job seekers are open to any type of role, regardless of industry or experience, stating that flexibility and job security is more important than career advancement. Gallup poll recently released data stating that 2/3 of current remote workers want to continue working from home post-pandemic. So we can embrace this shift away from the traditional 9 to 5 on-site every day as a jumpstart for a new, more agile work culture. This also opens up different prospects that you may not have considered previously due to location, one that may have required a longer commute or even relocating. This change alone can open up new industries and companies that you may not have previously considered. If you have not done so already, this is a great time to establish your negotiables and non-negotiables. Doing help make communicating your needs much easier. So let's talk about that for a minute. Your negotiables are things or ideas that are flexible and you're open to suggestions. Your non-negotiables are things that you can't navigate from and what you consider to be your must-haves.
So Tish, let me dive in on that note.
Sure.
You have a thriving career that demands a lot from you, and you're highly effective. But that when you spoke to negotiables, that's really the foundation. That's what's most important. So
Right.
can you speak a little bit to and bring people over the wall on your non-negotiables, so to speak, and how you stayed true to those?
Yeah. So right now in my life, my non-negotiables is my time. So it's the time I block out. It's my dinner time to 8 p.m. And the reason why that time is so important for me, that's the time I spend with my family. And to stay true to what I just said, that wasn't the case for me probably about 15, 16 years ago. That wasn't a non-negotiable. But obviously now with my husband, my two kids, I carve out that time. So that's 100% a non-negotiable for me right now. And I say right now because that may shift as they get older, as things progress. So, but right now, that's where I'm at with that.
And you hit on an important point, is in establishing those, as long as you're clear about them and you handle it in a way that is well thought out.
Right.
It's important to communicate those things, because especially with the remote environment, what have we found when we all went remote? We started to find that the days got a lot longer because it was just so much easier to stay engaged and have access to other meetings. So it's something that you really need to stay committed to and clear with everybody around you in a positive way around, this is what I need to keep doing great things. So
Right. And you know, I have an interesting story about that. I remember, so when I was commuting into the office, it would when I would leave the office around 5:30. I would get home around 6:30. And I remember I was speaking to my youngest son, 10, and I was saying, oh, mommy gets home, mommy's home now, so isn't that great? And he made a comment to me a few months ago. He said, well, you still come out of your office at the same time. And that resonated to me. So that's why I took a step back and said, okay, it's time for me to look at my list and adjust my negotiables and my non-negotiables.
absolutely.
So, and with that being said, just want everyone to remember this list is evolving and should change with you and your circumstances. So it's always the best practice to revisit this list every 6 months to a year to update and adjust accordingly. If nothing changes, that's okay too. The power in doing this is knowing where you are personally and professionally at that moment. So if you don't need to change it, don't change it. So technology, we all appreciate it and we're all thankful for it because it has kept us all connected and moving forward. A study by McKinsey found that at the onset of the pandemic, we jumped ahead 5 years in consumer and digital adoption in just 8 weeks. We should definitely use this shift to our benefit. So here's a few ways that we can do that. Taking advantage of virtual learning and resources. This could set you apart from your peers, whether you're an active job seeker or growth opportunities within your current organization. There's also been a noticeable shift in online education. We're noticing the offering of more classes for certifications and trainings. All of that has increased. Because of this shift, there's also a rise in employment for researchers and educational research. Online networking is huge right now. So if you're not on LinkedIn, please take advantage of it and get on it. Now's the time. Put this in perspective. LinkedIn has over 722 million users and 50 million. It's a lot of people. So, And when you're using LinkedIn, you should set goals and make it very intentional. So in doing that, I think a best practice is creating tiers. Tier 1 should be for your friends, family, coworkers, people that you have a relationship with. Tier 2 is for your acquaintances, people you know, but you don't interact with them often. And tier 3 are for individuals you don't know, but would like to network with because of their experience and their background. So, and this is also a great time to join organizations. Do you know of any meetups?
So Tish,
Yes.
Tish, let me dive in there. Let's go back to the 3 tiers.
Okay.
What you just provided is a framework on how to approach this. Can you make that real for us a little bit as to, there's also the, how different experts, incorporate the leverage of LinkedIn into their day. Can you speak a little bit about how you, I get the 3 tiers, but how you apply it?
Absolutely. Yeah, so for me, because my day gets going, so what I have to do, I have to be very intentional. So I check in the morning. I do any questions if someone reaches out to me. I accept any, invites, and so I do that in the morning. Then I jump on again around lunchtime, and then I may jump on again later in the afternoon, later in the evening. So that's how I do it. I try to break it up into 3 buckets throughout the day.
Great.
So, this is also, as I was saying, this is also a great time to join professional organizations. You know, if any meetups or network groups you're interested in joining, such as Women in Coding, the Project Manager Network, whatever field or interest, most of these groups are virtual now. The more you expand your network, the more you open yourself up to new people and opportunities. Last but definitely not least, let's talk about how we are all probably at using Zoom at this point or any type of video conferencing software. Since the pandemic, everyone is using at least one of them more than ever to stay connected with family and friends. It's been a huge benefit for employers as well to keep their employees connected and interview applicants for their open positions. Gartner HR survey finds that 86% of organizations are incorporating some type of virtual technology to interview candidates due to COVID-19. And post-pandemic, most stated that they will continue to use this process as a new best practice. The video interview trend is here to stay. With that being said, the recruiter in me, I have to give a few tips on how to prepare for video interviews or even meet and greets with clients. Always log on 10 to 15 minutes early to ensure there aren't any connectivity issues. As wonderful as technology can be, we all know it can have some glitches and some issues, so you want to make sure you get in front of that. Minimize any distractions, make sure you're in a quiet place with no interruptions. And honestly, outside of those things, prepare as you would for any interview. Know your resume and just be yourself. In closing, there's still a lot we don't know, but we can figure it out together, in my opinion. But so even though change is guaranteed, the more we know, the more we can adjust and move forward and get ready for what tomorrow may bring.
So, you ready to open things up?
Absolutely.
All right. So, we've got some questions.
Okay.
Okay. First and foremost, how do you predict job seekers' priorities will continue to evolve beyond our current landscape?
Well, I think, I think I touched on it a little bit before. I think the pandemic and all that we're going through, I think it made everyone take a step back and go back to that list I talked about, your negotiables and your non-negotiables. So I think everyone is looking at things a little bit differently. And I think that flexibility and the importance of time is going to be huge moving forward.
Got it. What about, are there any specific concerns hiring managers have due to our current climate that the job seekers should really be aware of? I mean, how's it different now, and what's on the mind of the hiring manager?
I think the hiring managers are concerned about the same thing that the candidates are concerned about. Is this a good match? Are we going to be okay? We're not seeing each other physically, so we have to make this connection over video. So I think the hiring managers have the same concerns as the candidates, making the connection, having that camaraderie, having that, sense of team, and you doing it all visually by video. And will this person fit in the team? But these are the same concerns that the applicants have as well.
Okay, so this one's a little bit of a softball, but a good opportunity to really lay things out for people on the importance of it. But can you speak to the importance of having a recruiter in these times versus just trying to do it on your own?
Absolutely. I think it's that self-advocation communication piece. I think it can be challenging to talk about yourself and say the things that you need. And if you have that recruiter, I always think of recruiters as being your agent, right? So they work for you. They work for the client. They work for you. So we go to the client, we figure out what the client needs, and we have our candidates, and we know exactly what the candidate needs, and we bring it together. I think it's a safe place for people to say the things that they might not feel comfortable saying to a hiring manager, saying, I have to pick up my kids at a certain time, and that's important to me. Some people don't feel comfortable saying that. I'm taking courses and I need this time. Can you make sure the opportunity that you find for me can work around that? So, and another good thing recruiters can do is walk you through some things, because sometimes you have expectations and a recruiter is not here to tell you to change those expectations, but a recruiter should be able to tell you, okay, you can want that, but this is the reality, this is what you're up against, and together we can decide if that's the best opportunity for you.
Yeah, it's really interesting because, looking for a job and career decisions can become so emotional. To have that third party looking at it from a clinical perspective, especially somebody who's engaged with thousands of consultants,
Right.
and seeing the best practices as well as the mistakes are really critical. And by the way, that doesn't mean just keep one recruiter. It's what do you think on that note to the seeing what's out there as
Right.
far as who can help you and who's the right one for you?
Well, I always think, I tell everyone you got to look out for yourself. So you got to make sure you're doing things to help yourself. And even though you have a trusted recruiter, it's okay to look outside of that recruiter, because it's it has to be the right opportunity. The timing has to be right. So if you have a recruiter that you love working with, that's great. But if you see something else that catches your eye and you want to work with a couple of recruiters, I don't think anything that's wrong with it. Nor do I think anything is wrong with it if you have that recruiter and you want to work, because there are some special benefits that goes with that as well.
Exactly. All right. Now, this one you touched on a little bit earlier, more than a little bit when you spoke to the non-negotiables, but especially in this climate, is there any other advice that you would give people in striking the right work-life balance? And fulfillment is remarkably important, and that goes beyond just being productive. So can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think, like you said, we touched on it before. It's just you have to be true to yourself. You have to be true to yourself, and you have to be true to your goals, where you're at in your life on a personal level, and what you're striving to do on a professional level, and you have to have that balance. So I think, for an example, for me, what I didn't touch on, that, having that time frame for my non-negotiable. What I also do, though, when I look at my calendar in the morning, I make sure I strategize so I can have that time, so I'm not leaving anything undone. So I think it's very important that you come in with your day, be very intentional how you set up your day, so you can have that balance and still get done what you need to get done.
So we had just had another interesting one come in, asking for suggestions for transitioning skill set from a long-time career to another industry. And if you could tie that in, you've already hit the importance of the recruiter. I'm assuming that's critical there.
Yes. Yeah.
than more than ever. But anything else that you'd say around that?
You know what? Since this pandemic, I've heard and I've talked to a lot of people who want to do a career shift. So what I would say about that is I think that's great. I don't think anyone should ever start pursuing or growing, and changing things up can be exciting sometimes, but you just want to be knowledgeable and prepare yourself for that. So if you've been in a certain area for a certain amount of years, if there has to be a balance, maybe you have to take a step back, maybe in pay to get that experience that you may need. What I like to say is taking a little step back so you can get 3 steps forward, right? So it's just a moment in time that you may have to adjust a little bit to get back to where you're at. It's just a reality
It's
that
hard to do.
it's very hard to do. But if you're jumping into something new, you got to give yourself grace and give yourself time to pick up that technology.
Great. We've got another one. For those of us who have worked very little remotely, how to respond / position oneself to interview questions on working remotely.
You mean if you're in an interview process and if your hiring manager asks you about it?
I would think. No, here's what we have here, and Subhash, feel free to clarify in the chat if I'm not getting it right. But I'm assuming what this says is if you haven't worked remotely, you may run into that question regarding remote work while interviewing. I could be off on that one, but that's what. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Thank you,
All right.
Subhash.
Great. So Bosh, what I would say to that is, it's just be authentic, be honest, and just say, hey, I haven't done this before, but I'm very, I'm intrigued and interested and willing to learn and do whatever it takes. And I just always live by being honest, because you don't want to oversell yourself and say, oh, I've done this before, and then you get into one of these video conferencing application manager, you might know how to maneuver around. So in all seriousness, I think it should just be honest and just tackle it head on. Because here's the thing, Savage, it's not just you.
Exactly. It was most of us up until last March, right?
Very true. Yes.
Almost been a year.
Myself included.
Amazing. And Subhash said thank you.
You're very welcome.
Another one. This is not a plant, I promise everybody. How can I connect with a Kforce recruiter?
Oh, that's an awesome one.
Thought you'd like that.
LinkedIn, Kforce has a wonderful homepage, and with job postings, there's so many wonderful ways. Send me a LinkedIn. That's the number one way. I'll get you to. I know some awesome recruiters throughout the firm. I can take care of that for you. I promise.
All right, we just got another one coming in regarding certifications. So hold on one second. Okay, as a recruiter, have you seen specific certifications or personal projects that have vaulted a candidate's profile forward outside of traditional elements of education and work experience? In particular, the data analytics field.
Well, personally, I don't have an answer for that. Let me just start off by saying that. But I will say this: what I have seen, every client is very specific in that. I have some clients that certifications doesn't outpace experience for them. And I also see some clients who want to see the certification along with their experience. So a specific certification for data analytics, I don't have an answer for that, but if we can jot down the email or what have you.
I would ask whoever submitted that to please provide your information, and we can get that out to you. And we can also, once we retrieve that information, if we get it in time, we can put it out with the recording as well.
Absolutely.
All right. I think that covers our questions, but I've got one in particular that I think could help a lot of it. When you talk about those to those who are new to the business world, and just, any advice as a successful professional that you would give and what they're going to experience throughout their career, and you know, any keys to success that have helped you get to this point?
Yes, I would say, first I want to say, don't let the situation that we're all in, don't let it deter you or slow you down, because we're all adjusting, right? So, virtual job fairs, Kforce does it. A lot of companies are doing them. So things are moving along. We're just moving along and doing them differently. So I would say keep moving forward. Um, don't get caught up into all of this that's going on, because we're all going through it together. And just keep pushing yourselves and keep working hard. And whatever you want, you have the tools there. You surround yourself with people that can continue to push you to do better. So, I always think back to something that I think about that pushes me. That if you're in a room and if you're the smartest one in it, they say get out of it and go to another room, right? So you want to always be around people to push you, to encourage you. Each one teach one. I love that saying. So.
Excellent. All right. So we're going to wrap things up here. First, thank you to everybody who has joined us. Once again, we will be sending this out to you. So you will have that. But beyond that, Tish, I just can't thank you enough for the time and energy invested and the wisdom shared.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed being here today, and I thank all of you for sharing your lunch with me. And if you're on the West Coast, sharing your morning with me. I appreciate it. It's been an honor to be here today.
And we look forward to hopefully seeing all of you in our next webinar. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.